So do you like Silver Age superheroes? Well, these guys certainly did, so let's get super groovy and take a look back at some familiar setup. Hyperions is brought to us by director John McDonnell and stars Carrie Eloise, Penelope Mitchell, and Alfonso Macaulay. In 1960, Professor Ruckus Montalban invented the Titan Badge, a device that enables humans to have a particular superpower. Cut to 1979 when two of the original superheroes are all grown up and want their Titan Badges back. So the Hyperions is another one of those superhero movies that's trying to take a little bit of a different take, give it a somewhat realistic take, and kind of humanize the heroes themselves. I can't say that this is really a realistic take, but it is more of a humanizing of them take. This movie's extremely quirky, and it's a little bit out there at times. But that was one of the things that really worked for me when it came to this movie. Parts of this movie take place in the early to mid 1960s, and then the rest of the film takes place in 1979, and both of these parts of the film captured their times very well. Now, when I say they captured the time that they were based in very well, I don't necessarily mean that it seemed like it was 1960, or it seemed like it was 1979, year I was born, by the way, great year. No, they more capture the idea of 1960 or the idea of 1979. Like with the 1960 parts of the film, there's like little animated cut-ins and things like that. It's the way that it's presented to us. It's almost like you're watching something from 1960. Not necessarily how things were in the 60s, but it's how film and television presented the 60s and 1979. The filmmaking style they used here as well is very much of that era. You got lots of big force zooms and push outs and pull outs and things like that. I mean, it is very much made like a movie from the 60s or 70s. It has a slightly grungier look, and they just did a really good job all around of convincing you that this movie was made during the time period that it takes place. Now, our basic plot surrounds two characters that used to be superheroes when they were kids. But as time went on, this superhero team that is run by Carrie Eloise's Ruckus Montalban gets recycled out, and now they're adults. And as adults, nothing in their life has ever lived up to what they had when they were kids, so they want these badges back that give them their special powers. So they hold up a museum for the Hyperions, which is the name of this family of superheroes, by the way, because that's where their badges are being held, and they want to steal the badges to get their powers back, so we think. There is more going on here that I'm not going to spoil here. And the movie does a pretty good job of giving us a bit of a history lesson of these events, everything that's happened since this guy created these badges, and how these kids were like going around and publicized and saving the world and going all these missions, and then why they would end up getting recycled out and they go with new heroes later on. All the family drama going on behind the scenes and all that stuff. Because ultimately, after everything is said and done about this movie, that is what the story is. It's some family drama. We come to find it is basically about rebelling children against one of their parents. Yes, like mentioned a moment ago, there is more to it as well, but that is what is at the heart of this story. And this is a place that I think the movie did really well. This story that they end up telling over time as the movie goes on was really interesting, and there was something, even though it was a bit fantastical and over the top at times, believable. And not just believable, but there were parts of it that were very relatable and even touching at times. Now, the movie is overall a whimsical comedy, and while it does have its heavier moments, for the most part, you're getting laughs, not tears. And it was fairly successful in that for the most part. Now, if all of this sounds maybe somewhat familiar, maybe you've heard something like this before, maybe in the past few years, that's because, yeah, you're right, I thought it too, The Umbrella Academy. Is it exactly like The Umbrella Academy? No, but the basic idea of it is still there. You have this group of kids that are adopted by this really rich, eccentric guy. They have or develop some type of superpowers. They go on missions. They were famous. Now they're not so much. Some of them like have issues with the law and just, you know, growing up famous. And some of them have some really big issues with their parents. Yes, that part of it cannot be denied. These two stories are very similar. Now the outcomes and the things that happen specifically in these stories are very different, but the basic setup is extremely alike. Different time frames, for sure. Like, this movie's going for a very much more Silver Age comic book vibe, and The Umbrella Academy was a little bit more modern. But basic setup, absolutely. Which one came first? I don't know. I don't know for sure if the Hyperions was a comic book already. I know that the Umbrella Academy was, but I don't really know how old Umbrella Academy is. And like I said, I don't know if this was already a comic book, and if it was, how old it was. So which one came first? I have no idea. But hey, it's okay for things to be similar. You can still enjoy something even though it is a bit derivative of something else. And I do feel like there is enough done here differently than Umbrella Academy that you can still enjoy this, if not both of them. Great show, by the way, Umbrella Academy, so go check it out if you haven't. Now that being said, not everything here is perfect. This is a lower budget affair. Now the movie looks great, but it doesn't have a ton of money. They did a great job setting up this world and making it seem like they were in these time periods that the film takes place in. And what we get on screen really does look good. They sell what they show us very well, but I couldn't help but want at times a little bit more. This is a movie about superheroes, or at least former superheroes, and we don't really get to see a lot of superhero stuff in it. We do get some, that's for sure. One character in particular, she teleports all over the place. We get a lot of her doing that, and it is a pretty neat little effect. It's not like Avengers Endgame level effect or anything, but it's not supposed to be. The effect they use here fits very much in line with the vibe they were going with. I really did enjoy it. But some of our other characters, you could tell that they were limited by their budget. They were unable to give us as much as I think that they wanted to. We do get to see the aftermath of some of the events that these characters get involved in, but at times you wanted to see these things happen. Even though the drama is the core thing in this movie that's supposed to keep you interested, and it doesn't change the fact that this is a movie about superheroes. One's like super fast, one's super strong, one can control minds. We want to see that stuff more. On the flip side of that, I do commend the filmmakers for not going beyond their means, not trying to do something that they just knew we're not capable to do with this budget. Because even though I am sitting here telling you I wanted more and I felt a little bit gypped because I didn't get more of that, had you given us more and it looked like shit, I would be sitting here giving you hell about that, and I do fully understand the hypocrisy of that entire thing. So this complaint is kind of a double-edged sword. Yes, I wanted more, and I feel like the filmmakers wanted to give us more, but they were unable to. So I'm also going to commend them for not going beyond their means. Now the movie does have a few moments throughout that drag a bit. It doesn't have like any big, long, extended parts that drag and just put you to sleep, but there's like little parts here or there for moments that get a little bit long. They typically pick it up pretty quick, but I feel like the movie could have probably done with one more pass in the editing bay. Just a little nip tuck here or there would have made this a much tighter, more efficient affair. Performance-wise, everybody is doing a really good job here. They're all on their A game. Everybody is on board with the whole vibe that this movie is giving out, especially the always awesome Cary Elwes, and he is just fucking fantastic here. That's not to take away from everyone else here, because everybody here did a pretty damn good job, but Eloise is on a whole nother level. His weird, eccentric Professor Montalban is just perfect. This is the role he was born to play. The character himself is written in such a funny, eccentric way, but it's not just that. It's all the little tics and quirks that Eloise probably added to it as well. It's all the little things he does as an actor that really bring this character to life. And probably the biggest achievement of all that he did with this character is when you have characters like this in films sometimes. It can be very interesting, but they're really out there. It's hard to really form much of an emotional connection with them. You may enjoy the characters. They may be fun characters. You may really like watching them and seeing them, but when it comes to actually developing an actual emotional connection with them, it's kind of hard to do because they're so out there, and getting some actual emotional range from them that seems real is difficult as well, but Eloise seems to do that here. While this character is really fucking out there are times that you absolutely see this man's pain. You see his regret, and you even see his happiness at times. It's very subtle things that only an actor like Eloise, who's been in this game for a really long time, could have brought to the character. Like I said though, all the performances here are all really fun and done very well. Everybody seemed like they were totally on board and having a great time here. Guys, The Hyperions was a really fun movie with its issues. Well, it does drag in a few parts for sure, and they definitely could have used some more money to fully realize their vision. Overall, they created a world and characters that I really enjoyed, and a story that actually had an emotional impact that I wasn't expecting by the end. And even though it does fall a bit short in a few places, it is definitely a world I would want to see more of, and it is absolutely worth streaming.
Across the street.
This movie was really close to worth the rent, but I had to be honest and say it just wasn't quite there. It's a great movie though. I really enjoyed it and I do recommend you all check it out. So there it is guys, my review of the Hyperions. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below. Become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys, and possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Dragon Con, Marge G, and Silverlock. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Auburn.
We've got a Hyperion en route. Not a good time to look stupid. Shots fired! God, come on, give me my gun!
So okay, it has been brought to my attention that this movie is produced, I guess, by the Daily Wire. This movie was actually sent to me by Saban Films because they're one of the other production houses behind it. I wasn't even aware when I watched it that it was a Daily Wire film. That does not mean I wouldn't have watched it, but that's why I didn't really mention it. But on a side note, I would like to point out that when it's come to these previous movies and this one, the fact that I've had to have these disclaimers, kind of like I'm doing here, is kind of ridiculous. I watch movies because I love movies. I don't give a shit about what the people that made a movie believe. I care about the actual movie I'm watching and whether it's entertaining or not. I guess the point I'm trying to make here without being too long-winded is that I'm not going to do this shit anymore. I'm not gonna sit here and give a disclaimer about the company that had something to do with a movie that I'm reviewing about anymore. Fuck that shit. I'm just gonna review the goddamn movie, and if you don't like the movie because of a company that had something to do with it, be it finance, whatever they did. I know Saban Films had something to do with it. They're the ones who sent it to me. But whatever the Daily Wire had to do with it, I don't give a shit. If you're going to look at me and think something because of the Daily Wire had to do something with the movie and I'm reviewing it, fuck you, I don't care. They sent me a fucking movie to watch. I watched it, I review it. That is what I do for a living. What's their next movie? When am I gonna have to worry about this again? Oh my god, it's the Gina Carano movie. Holy shit! That's gonna be a shit show. Not the movie itself, just anybody who talks about it. Really looking forward to that.